Hey guys, I'm going to start this week's segment by talking up two of the best wide receivers in the league, and that's Adam Thielen and Stefon Diggs, who just absolutely torched the Redskins secondary, the pretty good Redskins secondary this past week, and are doing things that nobody would have thought possible in the beginning of the season. Do you realize that Adam Thielen is currently the wide receiver 3 in PPR formats and the wide receiver 5 in standard formats? Stefon Diggs started the year extremely hot, and now that he's completely healthy and back from injury, he's getting his way right back up there. Adam Thielen and Stefon Diggs, prorated to a 16-game slate if they both played 16 fully healthy games, are on pace to combine for 2,551 yards. Now, the only wide receiver duos to get more than that, to receive for more than that combined yardage in a single season in the past 5 years have been Emmanuel Sanders and Demaryius Thomas in 2014, Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb also in 2014, and Alshon Jeffrey and Brandon Marshall in 2013. Now, obviously, Thomas and Sanders had Peyton Manning throwing them the ball. Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb had Aaron Rodgers, but Diggs and Thielen are doing this primarily with Case Keenum, and they're in that level. They're playing with that level of these receivers that I mentioned, and it's really absurd. And I don't think really any defense can stop them at this point. They're playing the Rams this week, and the Rams have had the gift of some pretty bad offenses. Their Rams defense has looked good. Their passing defense has looked good, but they've played the Colts, the 49ers, the Jaguars, the Giants, and the Texans with Tom Savage as quarterback. So they don't really have a lot of impressive performances against really good quarterbacks. And when they have not played as well. But because of this, their cornerbacks have graded pretty decently. Last week, Tremaine Johnson did get walked all over by DeAndre Hopkins. And I think Stefon Diggs and Adam Thielen, the way they're playing, I expect to see a lot of that. These are like this is the best receiving duo in the league right now, and the Rams defense is just not good enough to really stop them. The next game I want to talk about is the Cowboys and the Eagles, and top of the NFC East, big rivalry game here, and we saw that Dallas without Tyron Smith and Ezekiel Elliott was not the same team. Their offense couldn't get anything going. They only generated 7 points. And when their offense can't get going, it's a lot bigger struggle for their defense. Their defense has a much more difficult time. They're on the field longer because the Cowboys' offense can't get anything going. They can't score. So I think their mediocre defense has really been masked by Ezekiel Elliott and their offensive production. Now, the last time the Eagles played, Alshon Jeffrey burned Aqib Talib twice for touchdowns. Whatever Alshon Jeffrey can do to Aqib Talib, he can easily accomplish against Jordan Lewis, who's so far given up 3 touchdowns in coverage, and quarterbacks have an 102.7 rating when targeting Jordan Lewis. Orlando Scandrick has played well so far in the slot, but Pro Football Focus gives Nelson Aguilar, who's really had a rebirth this season playing out of the slot, they give him a 27% advantage, 27% matchup advantage. So with Carson Wentz throwing the ball the way he has been, throwing like zillions of touchdowns every game, I think the Cowboys are going to have a very difficult time, especially if their offense continues to go 3 and outs and keeps their defense on the field. They're going to get tired, and Carson Wentz is just going to have his way. So look for big games from Alshon Jeffrey and Nelson Aguilar. The last matchup I want to talk about is Patrick Peterson against DeAndre Hopkins. Now, Patrick Peterson has shadowed a wide receiver in every single game except for last week, because Doug Baldwin generally plays in the slot, and Patterson doesn't usually guard the slot, so he was moving around a lot to different guys depending on who was playing on the outside and where they needed him most. DeAndre Hopkins plays in the slot only 17% of his snaps, so I think it's logical that Peterson will be shadowing Hopkins. Now, here's some numbers for you. Hopkins has the most targets in the league and the 5th most catches in the league so far. Patrick Peterson has been targeted the 3rd fewest times, gives up the 3rd fewest yards per cover snap, and gives up a reception only every 29.7 times he's in coverage for the highest total in the league. meaning they don't even try throwing the ball at Peterson. So something's got to give here. You have the wide receiver who's targeted more often than any wide receiver in the league, and you have the cornerback who's targeted the fewest out of any cornerback in the league. So it's going to be really fun to watch which one of these absolute powerhouses gets the better of the other. Will Hopkins dominate Peterson, beat him deep, man him up, beat him down for tough catches, or will Peterson be so thick on Hopkins that Tom Savage doesn't even try to get him the ball?